everything is done with intentionality. Everything is about that client experience, even down to a client comes in, had a specific request. They make that happen for that experience. Why? Because that person's going to remember that forever. And in fact, I was speaking in Michigan a couple months ago, and I asked somebody that exact question. I said, who here has eaten at a Michelin star restaurant? Gentleman raises his hand. I said, could you describe for this group what you experienced at that restaurant? And without missing a detail from start to finish, he could talk about every part of that experience. And I said, how long ago did you eat there, sir? He says, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Now think about that, how that resonated, that experience resonated with him. Now imagine that, transferring that to your practice. If you truly want to scale to the next level, it's about that type of mindset where we don't miss a beat ever. We're consistent every single time, and it's memorable. People will remember that. They will talk about it.
It's interesting. The last Michelin star restaurant my wife and I and some friends ate at was a complete fluke because we got a little bit off track and we stumbled into this restaurant and we didn't know it was Michelin star until we saw the logo at the gate. And we all sat up straighter. We're going into a Michelin star restaurant. So it goes both ways. But what I noticed, none of the staff seemed like they were just calling it in. They were bought in. Not because they were told to. I think it meant something to them to represent that expectation and that standard of quality, which I think is a great segue. And I know we'll come back to growing up market, but I mentioned earlier, like, be referable at the highest level. So a good place to start, if you want to attract successful CEOs, it's a good idea to actually conduct yourself like a CEO. And that's where you guys get into the weeds. Because for a lot of advisors, they come into this space with technical ability and core competency around how they manage money. Nobody taught them how to manage a business. Nobody taught them how to manage a relationship. Nobody taught them how to manage their time. And that's where you guys come in. So let's talk about that transition, that pivot to the CEO role, because that's more strategic. It's more visionary. It's not transactional. It's directional. So Mike, I'll let you take the first stab at that.